Do I look like a fancy boy in these clothes? You're dang right I do, and I don't know how to dress myself. This is all thanks to our sponsor, Stitch Fix. They've reimagined how to find and buy clothes, and you never have to leave the house. You can play Friday the 13th all day long and let them do the work for you. It's that easy. Just go to StitchFix.com and tell them your sizes, your favorite type of clothes, and how much you want to spend. Your personal stylist then gets all to working. She's in there doing hard stuff, and he's picking up stuff and he's putting on pictures. I don't know how he or she does it when they get it, but they pick clothes for you. 5 items are then delivered right to your door. You try them on at home and you only pay for what you keep. Shipping free both ways, so anything you don't want, you just send back, and exchanges are always free too. You can get your fix monthly, quarterly, or whenever you feel like it. There's no subscription required. It's easy. The shipping is free. Why not give them a try? I promise you'll be hooked. Look how good I look. Get started now. Why? Actually, look how good I look if you're on YouTube. If you're an ad person, just take, if you're a person on the MP3, take my word for it. I look really good. Get started now at StitchFix.com/Greggy, and you'll also get 25% off when you keep all five items in your box. That's StitchFix.com/Greggy to get started today. StitchFix.com/Greggy. Look so good, Gia will leave Tim for you. That's my goal.
Grab onto it and hold on to that energy and not shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer in a two-tone shirt that I can't get over, Nick Scarpino.
Oh, I didn't even notice the second tone.
I appreciate that, guys.
Andy,
Damn.
Andy and I talked about it today. That it's very. Andy was saying it's very Bruce Wayne-esque. He could see. He could see Bruce Wayne in this kind of shirt.
Like a ninja out there.
He said that the back of it's normal T-shirt, but the front of it may be a carbon fiber mesh.
Yeah.
Like
Is the back of it normal?
mesh. Yeah, it's just normal.
So the back in this. Oh, the back in the sleeves is like a nice little wraparound.
Yeah, it's just this front. It's just this front. It's a little texture. You know, I'm going up on stage tonight at a probably another coffee shop.
If
so
CW Network ever made a Batman show, he would wear that shirt.
Yep.
would.
Because they'd be like, yeah, right? And he developed this special material that's not cotton.
Bulletproof though.
And it like, he lets him dodge bullets. And
Now-
it turns him into,
The Black Ranger would wear.
Here's
it,
my
too.
question for you guys. You guys are all professionals in your own right. Some of us more than others.
I mean, I'm not really professional in any right, but.
Why can the armor stop a bullet but not a knife? You answer me that question, sir, and I'll tell you the biggest flaw with the Dark Knight right there.
Well, with Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight?
Dark Knight. Remember, he's like, it's the armor is made in plates,
Right?
So it's good for bullets, but it can't stop a direct
He
knife.
was talking about the meshing between the plates.
But why wouldn't they make that bulletproof too?
Because then he couldn't move. He'd be back to the whole
'cause,
stiff Batman thing.
They explained it. They actually explained.
This is actually explained in the
Have you
line.
seen, have you seen a movie called RoboCop?
Yes, I have seen RoboCop, sir. Great.
Have you seen how RoboCop moves?
Dad.
Right.
Right. Shooting dicks off.
Shooting dicks off.
There's a part where he shot a guy in
and
the dick.
that was in the Game Boy game also. And as a kid,
Was it
That was in the Game Boy
really?
game. Yeah, I couldn't figure it out as a kid. I was like, oh, well, I don't know what the fuck to do, and I couldn't get past the sec. Because the first level was like you walk by and you like shot, you're like do do, and then the second level you have to shoot the guy in the balls. And I didn't know that because I was like, what the fuck? How do I rescue this lady? Because it becomes the Game Boy becomes a fucking POV style first person shooter.
Okay.
And you have to like aim the targets. And I couldn't figure it out. Then I watched the movie and I was like, oh my god,
so
that's what I was supposed to do.
What an accurate take on the, you know what I mean? Like the most accurate video game
Take some
adaptation.
liberties with that. Where they shoot him in the head, maybe, because he's over here.
No,
like,
we all Pure One at Tim Gettys.
Let Tim host.
As we all know, when you play a video game based on a movie, you just want to have the exact same experience as the movie.
Absolutely.
If that's, you know, so many people do this. They try to expand it. Like, no, back in the day, that's all we wanted. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us for the first time ever, Addy Shankar.
Yay!
Star of Hollywood.
Star of Hollywood.
That's you.
That's what they're calling you these days.
Before we went live, we determined you are now, if people don't know your work, you are like a big fat guy with a gold chain and a cigar saying, I'm going to make you, kid. I made you, kid. No, you're going to be a star now. You did the big thing here. Because you're a big time Hollywood producer. That's what you do. That's what they call you.
Yeah.
You made the show, you made Castlevania happen.
Well, that was a dream come true, man.
You made Dread happen. All by yourself, nobody else, no help, nobody else.
No, and then
You made James Vanderbeek happen. This guy Nobody had heard of
It
him.
happened, yeah. It did happen.
That's the most important thing. The power/Rangers. It was you. It's all you.
That was crazy. That was just a crazy moment in my life.
The YouTube videos?
Well, Power/Rangers, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I was literally like quitting. I was done, right? I was out. I was like, fuck this place, fuck this town, fuck
Hollywood?
this industry. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just nonsense. And I wanted to quit, so I shut everything down. I had like a small company. I shut that down as well. I was getting ready to go to graduate school.
For what?
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I didn't know if I wanted to enter politics or if it was going to be business or law. I was like, look, I want to try other things because I never had a consistent home, right? Every 2.5 years, my family was relocating to a different country with a different culture, a different society altogether. So, Greg, I spent my whole life without having this sense of home. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I'd lived in Hollywood for years. I'd been in the movie industry and this was my home.
Yeah.
This was the only consistent home I'd had. And I wanted to all of a sudden expand my horizons because I felt claustrophobic. It felt claustrophobic to me. And I made a list of 3 things that I wanted to do before I split. Number 1 was like, I've had this crazy idea since I was 7 for Power Rangers, and this wasn't an idea as much as it was how I saw the show as a 7-year-old, right? Because in my mind
really?
it was dark. Yeah, it was dark because I wanted to be these guys, and I was like, man, but they're how do they get time to do their homework?
Right.
It was little things like that I was So getting to not only make that but release it and having the world react to it in the way that they did, it was an eye-opening experience for me, and it's kind of led to this new offshoot of my career that I'm currently in, what I'm currently experiencing right now. It directly led to the opportunities that have come since then, like Castlevania.
Yeah, which is great, by the way.
Thank you.
That's my man right there.
give you one of those.
So, no, it was for me. That was a meme.
No,
moment.
he clearly had plenty to go around, and I took some, sir, because he offered.
I did offer.
Eddie, what's the nutshell pitch for you? Someone's listening to this show right now and doesn't know who you are. And now they go, he was involved with Castlevania, he's involved with Dredge, he's involved with this Power Rangers thing they're talking about from YouTube. How do you describe yourself? Because I gave you a joking intro and we were talking about shooting dicks off, and then we got into the weeds right away, which I like. This is a great show already.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how I do.
Because you're a producer, right? You're a Hollywood producer, which again, cigar chain. You're gonna make it in this town.
I honestly, Greg, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I sit down in meetings with people with like when studios call me in.
Sure.
And I've started doing this. I go, I have a question for you. And I'm like, please don't read into this the wrong way. It's just an honest question. How do you see me?
You can just see the gears in their brain break. And
No. And then they literally, they're like,
Get 'em out.
that's a great question. They'll always say that's a great question, and then they'll start, and it's never one word, right?
Yeah.
The only time someone's actually given me a one-word response was great guy, Calum Worthy. He's the lead in Embodied, which is a rap battle satire, social satire that I produced with Eminem, actually. It's a wonderful film. I'm super proud of it. Joseph Kahn, who I collaborated with on Power/Rangers, directed it.
Same dude that directed all the Taylor Swift videos,
Right.
And the Thong Song video.
It won the audience award at both Toronto, the Toronto International Film Festival, and at Fantastic Fest. Critics are loving it. It's just I couldn't be happier for Joseph. Calum Worthy, he's one of the leads in that film. He's also, if you saw American Vandal on Netflix,
Big fans.
love that show. He's the dude with the braces.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
All right,
That
man.
is awesome.
Calum's great. Calum this kid is he's a star. He's a star in the making. I'm gonna make him a star. He's already a star. He's a Disney Channel. He's a Disney Channel actor. He was on a show called Austin and Ally. I actually met him because I was acting in a Disney Channel movie.
So you realize that you're just living my dream life, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, what you just said about Power Rangers, that is how I saw Power/Rangers, totally, where I'm like, that's what I remember watching Power Rangers and feeling like this is what it was to me. And we talked since I first met this dude. I was like, I want to make a dark, gritty Power Ranger thing.
It was one of those things that was great. Obviously, when it happened, Tim was excited, but there was also the part of him that was broken because he had talked about forever. You always wanted to do an IG and April Fool's Day video, right? That was going to be the dark Power Rangers.
But the thing is, like, what you did was so special, and it just succeeded on all fronts of what Power Rangers means to me and what it can be, and including like the Zeo references and stuff. This wasn't just some cash grab, like, oh, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's what you know about it. Like, you're a fucking fan.
It was a laser precise video made for people who loved the first and second season as much as I did. I used to go to swimming practice and lie to all the kids and tell them I was best friends with Jason just to be cool.
Tim still says that to a lot of people.
Right? I'd be like, yeah, no, me and Jason were hanging out. Yeah, he taught me some karate moves.
Some sweet karate moves.
Karate. Oh, the end all.
The kids were like sort of blown away, and then they were like, no, he doesn't really know Jason.
So wait, dial it back a little bit. Walk me through the process of this.
That joke just totally didn't land. It wasn't really a joke. It was a true story, and I was just kind of like, man, I like lied to a bunch. I started lying at a young.
It's okay. We've all lied to young kids in our time.
I do it literally every weekend in the van, just rolling by.
But I'm sorry.
Halloween.
I'm sorry.
That's every month.
You were saying.
Oh no! So this is my question to you. So we, when we were at IGN, we wanted to do something fun like this, but we obviously never got the opportunity to do it. So you go, okay, I have this idea of I want to do kind of a different take on Power Rangers, how I see it. Then what happens? Do you call Joseph Kahn and go, hey, somebody go rob a bank, let's get some money together? Because the production values on that were not insignificant. Like, it was a really well made project.
And that's all because of Joseph. I mean, it's Joseph's.
Was he your first call for that? Or who was the first call when you were like, let's get this going? Or was it just kind of a...
Yeah, it was Joseph. I literally, he had made this brilliant film called Attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd given me the DVD, the Blu-ray. And we literally met like a week before this for the first time. And he'd given me a Blu-ray. And he's like... And I called him up. I was like, Joe, you want to let's hang out. So he came over to my place and he's like, hey, did you watch Attention? I'm like, yeah. I didn't watch it. I hadn't watched it. And I was like freaking out. I'm like, why did you say yeah? Like, don't.
You're like, could have just said no.
As long as you have no follow-up questions, yes, I did.
Yeah. And then he's like, hey, so let me break it down for you. And I'm like, okay. And then I realized I didn't have a Blu-ray player, so I was like, and he'd given me the Blu-ray. It was this whole production.
You really don't like technology.
Yeah, I really don't. I'm a technology phobe. So we end up downloading it on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts breaking down shot by shot how he did every visual effect, every camera move. Like, he was like, and I realized the level of sophistication in his filmmaking. Right? This is an art. I'm not talking about production. I'm not talking about other. I'm talking about just the way he was moving the camera, the way he designed the sets, the way he was blocking scenes. I mean, this is Steven Spielberg level of craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Joseph, you should be doing massive blockbusters. Right, because it's that language, of communication. Because it's not just about explosions and cool car chases. Filmmaking, there's a language behind it. It's a way to communicate to a lot of people through these images spliced together. Right. Let me give you an example of the power of filmmaking. Do you guys all remember the Star Wars?
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard of them.
Do you all remember the scene with Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker where they're fighting, at the end of Empire Strikes Back?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I say lightsaber battle between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, you have a clear image in your head of that shot?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, are any of you seeing that image through either a theater screen or a TV screen, or are you in the frame?
in the frame.
Yeah.
In the frame, right? Because that's the magic trick of movies. It's like you're actually there. Your brain is registering that as an actual memory.
You're breaking my brain right now. This is awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So filmmaking is a language of communication. In the kaleidoscope of sounds and images that make you, you, there are fake memories that have been incepted in your mind through this language called filmmaking.
Yeah, that checks out. That's true.
That checks out.
That checks out.
So Greg,
yeah,
that's why filmmaking has been such a powerful propaganda tool since its inception.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the first thing dictators do is they go out and they say, all right, let's round up all the top artists and hire them because they can communicate with the people.
Yeah.
Okay? Joseph, he doesn't realize this, right? Because he's just a guy out there creating. I was like, Joseph, you are that guy hundreds of years ago writing the book and handing it out to the people, and they start reading it and being like, oh, what do you? This guy's crazy, but what he's saying is it's true,
checks
right?
out.
And then all of a sudden you amass the following. You're that guy. You're just a modern day version of that guy. Yeah.
So then
I literally derailed your question.
No. This is all great.
This is how the podcasting goes.
Is this how podcasting goes?
This is it. It's an ongoing conversation. Yeah, it's a great thing.
But so was it at that night that we were like, hey, I got this awesome idea for this Power Ranger short, you should go shoot it? Or
I sent him a script. I was like, yeah, I have the thing. Here's the script.
Did you tell him I'm doing this before I leave? I'm blowing town. Gonna go be a grad student. This is my final thing.
Well, you had the bootleg universe going already at this point.
Absolutely. At this point, Thomas Jane, Phil Giuano, Ron Perlman, and myself had we done Dirty Laundry.
That was really good.
That was the Punisher short.
The Punisher one, which kicked off the whole thing. Joe Lynch and I did the Venom one. There was a Judge Dredd one. I also had a James Bond one.
James Bond one was awesome. it's the
Dark Knight
top
Returns.
level. Yeah, it's Dark Knight Returns,
version
but for
of
James Bond. It's fucking cool.
You know, and I viewed them, but I viewed the James Bond short, which basically takes for those of you who don't know, it is effectively a deconstruction of this idea of this international hero who's effectively a licensed serial killer, right? And I was trying to explore the idea with the James Bond short. What would happen once this guy gets older? Once you take away his license to kill, once you say, all right, buddy, here's a desk job. You did great. Here's a desk job. Like, does that guy just literally disappear into the night? Or do we still have a serial killer on the loose, right? And this is an issue that we're dealing with more and more and more and more with the privatization of military, right? Because a lot of these guys, they go out and they fight in these wars, and they come home, and then they're like, well, there is no job market. There is no work for me. I know how to go fight, so I'm going to go join this private military group.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
Right.
Nanomachines.
Yeah.
I mean, Kojima was, he foresaw this. Kojima's another one of these Joseph Kahn types who's really just tapped into the pulse of what's going on.
Sure.
Right? And earlier,
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, but you also made the point about Power Rangers, like that's how you also saw the show. Right? And that's the beauty of our generation. Right, we were influenced by all these different things. It was these marketing, it was these companies trying to market products to us. They were trying to sell us toys, whether it was Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Ninja Turtles. But our imaginations, the children's imagination basically created these different scenarios around these things, right? Because I loved He-Man as a kid.
Yeah.
I went back and rewatched some of those episodes, and I'm like,
awful.
What did I like about this? This doesn't make any sense.
I mean, Power Rangers the same way.
Right.
You go back
Absolutely.
and it's just the same episode over and over and over and over, and it's like the villains are horrible.
But
everything about it's bad. But then
Absolutely.
you, as a kid, grew this world
Absolutely.
and characters,
The
and
universe.
Then jumping into it, as you grow, I feel like you add so much to that and just keeps going. That's when you end up at this. They were child soldiers.
Right.
Like when you think about it that way, it's like that's such
Like
an
Ender's
interesting
Game shit.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I can say that about a lot of the things we all loved growing up as a kid, and that was a lot of the spirit of Castlevania as well, right? Because when you look at Castlevania 3, there's a blueprint of a story. There is a blueprint of a story. The game, the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, you know, when we had like basically text telling you the backstory, and you had the instruction manual.
You look at the instruction manual, it has 3 paragraphs.
On the car ride home, you read the instruction manual cover to cover. They gave you backstories on all these little characters, and then when you played, you had it and you played with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Greg, what it was doing, it was activating a part of your imagination, of all of our imaginations. It was tapping into this and allowing us to develop more than what was on the screen with our minds.
100%. To make more of it, right? That's
Right.
always my concern as games get more and more real, right? In the way that someone at my, you know, if it's 6, 7, 8, whatever, a young person now playing a game, they're not being forced and taxed to play their memory, because it always was that thing, right? Of NES to SNES. Oh my God, these graphics are amazing. It looks so real. And then N64, and then to where we are now, where it literally does look real. But like back then it was like, oh, this Ghostbusters game looks so much better than others.
But I will also say, you know, there's also, and you're absolutely right, Greg. I mean, it's like there's a fear with anything that, you know, like what happened to Hollywood, right? It was franchises, known IP, known intellectual property. This thing works. This is the product. This is the blueprint. Don't break it. Don't deviate from it. It's not broken until you end up in 2017, where there's a bunch of movies coming out and they're not fucking working because everyone's seen them before.
Transformers 5.
The fear is that the same thing would happen to the video game industry, right? All of a sudden it becomes all AAA titles, it becomes blockbuster titles, and you're either launching a new franchise and it's working and there's going to be part 5, 6, 7, 8, or you're launching a new would-be franchise and it doesn't work and it doesn't take off. But the beauty of all of this is the cost of making all of these products, not just video games, but also film and television, has dropped to a price point where it can be done on an independent level, off the grid, away from the machinery that controlled the tools of this language, of these communication devices. And they can be used to make product at an independent level that is cutting edge.
Yeah, it's on par with what you would see come from a studio, right?
So you know, everyone. One of the questions I get asked a lot is you know, when are we going to see the next Sex, Lies, and Videotapes? When are we going to see the next Pulp Fiction or the Reservoir Dogs or the Snatch or Lock, Stock? And most of my colleagues who work in film and television, they hate it when I say this, but I'm like, guys, that moment's gonna come again, because it always comes, right? Each generation clings on to something and goes, no, this is it. Everything else before that's bullshit. This is real. It's authentic. It's raw, right? Every generation has their own version of that. But I believe that the next version of this is going to be in the video game space, in the independent video game space. The next Reservoir Dogs, the next Pulp Fiction is going to come from video games.
And what do you think that does to movies and television? How do they react to that?
You know, that's an interesting question. How do they react to it, right? Because I think they're already reacting to it, right? I mean, when we were growing up, you know what? I can give you a personal example of this. When we were growing up, you know, all we had was like the console at home and the movie theater and what was on television, right? These are literally 3 outlets by which we can be communicated to, right? There's 3 outlets for which we can consume the shit that we love. 3. And of that, the movie theater was this temple. And why was it this temple, right? Was this temple because that was the one place you could go and you could see effectively art with no boundaries, without commercials. Right? Because you watched, if you watched Friends on television, you know, Ross wasn't gonna like blow his head off.
That would have been an amazing episode.
It would have been an amazing
Yes.
episode. But the thing is, that was
today
never
in a
gonna
very
happen.
special episode
I
of
can
Friends.
vouch, by the way, that never happens in Frasier because I have watched all seasons of Frasier. He never blows his head off in that.
And I don't mean blow his head off just for shock value,
Sure.
right? But it wasn't, the point being, Friends was never going to deviate from the script because of commercials.
Right.
Ultimately, these television shows existed to sell blocks of advertising. Things never changed after the Colgate Hour, right? The Colgate Hour being this hour blocks of television that were sponsored by various brands. Television was that. The movie theater was where you went, and it was a dark place. It wasn't necessarily safe, because sometimes you'd be exposed to scenes and points of view that maybe were outside of your frame of reference, so to speak. And what has happened slowly over the past 10 years is the movie theater has become a giant commercial. Cinema, film, is a giant commercial, but what they're selling you is the next version of that intellectual property. Iron Man 2 exists to sell you Avengers. Avengers exists to sell you these Ant-Man and Spider-Man spin-offs,
Strange,
etc.,
things like
etc.,
that.
etc.
Sure.
Right? Television is still the commercial model. It still exists to sell you commercials. But there's this advent of this new platform, streaming technology.
Sure. The digital era.
The digital era, right? Where effectively, you know, it's this disruptive force, but it's not just a disruptive force because, oh, you can put anything on Netflix and, oh, we can binge. It's not just the binge watching. It's not just it's all of that. It's all that. It's the ability to on demand, watch it whenever the fuck you want. But the real key here, the real key to the future of streaming technology is the biggest flaw in entertainment since its inception has been it costs way too much money to identify a potential customer to a product. Right?
Interesting.
That is the problem, because they'll spend $200 making the film and they'll have to spend $200 marketing the film. Then there's the Jason Blum, who's like he's a brilliant businessman. He's a Blumhouse.
Blumhouse,
So,
yeah.
you know, if you watch horror movies, they make 85% of them. He perfected the model of, okay, we're gonna make Insidious for $3, and we're gonna spend $30 marketing it. So they're literally spending more money trying to sell you the product to get you to watch the thing than they are in actually making the product, right? So now that's just a reality of the time we live in. But what digital technology is slowly doing is it's reducing the cost of identifying, of matching a product or a piece of content, however you want to call it, or a piece of art, with the consumer base that would watch it.
Is that because, do you think of all consumers in some way now as advertisers in the digital age, right? Like if I see something, if I see one of your videos and I like it, right? I go share it, and I'm sharing, and I don't mean like me as Greg Miller with a Twitter following. I mean me as a normal Twitter person. Right. I share it with an audience that's following me because they're like-minded, and then they share it, and like we're all out there sharing things together in these communities that can actually talk for a change.
Absolutely. You're sharing things, but also it's psychographics. Your profile on like what you watch, what you buy, where you buy things, your what timing you're online. It's all of our accounts are slowly getting interlinked, right? Like most people make most of their purchases through credit cards, which are again also interlinked. So it's happening now, and pretty soon, even though when I say pretty soon, it's literally happening as we speak. The streaming company is going to know, hey, you are the perfect audience for this show.
Yeah, I think a perfect example of that is like you take a Netflix, right? And you've got it's no coincidence that Netflix has been flooding its platform with stand-up comedy specials. Clearly those are resonating with its audience. And so they've gone ahead and said, we're going to double down on this and we're going to give everyone who's any notable of a name who's got a decent hour special to throw it out. Well, hours hard. It's really hard, right? But so there's only a select few people that can really do that. But let's give them all the opportunity to do this, right? And you've got HBO also kind of in that game, and now Amazon's floating with that game a little bit too. But I think so it's fascinating. So I guess what you're I think alluding to is the fact that these platforms are helping to eliminate that barrier to entry or that need to find the audience because you've already got that built-in audience there. Right?
I think you bring up a good point with the stand-up comedy though, because Netflix I now look at as a stand-up comedy machine where I look at it and I think in the same way that I look forward to the next Marvel movie because I know I'm interested in Marvel characters. I look at that, I'm like, I've never heard of this guy, but I'm gonna watch it because it's the new Netflix original stand-up. Right. So it absolutely works. That takes the marketing out of it because it is the marketing. The content is the marketing at that point.
Right. But that also changes the nature of which content. Let's call. I hate the word content because
I hate it too. But it's the only word that really all encompasses everything.
We make content here.
We do make content.
Yeah, I'm really not trying to make content. I define it as I'm trying to make dope shit.
Yeah.
So get the fuck out of my way.
We don't make dope shit here, sir. We just make shit. But that's what we.
But when I talk to business people, I have to call it content because otherwise they're like, well, he said he wants to make dope shit. I'm not entirely.
They call
certain
it legal.
what
They're
he
like,
meant.
do we make dope shit here? We're not sure if this is the place to make dope shit.
Sir, we're a dry cleaner.
And he called us a bunch of pussy bitches. And suits. Why was he calling us suits? I'm not wearing a suit. I'm wearing khakis today.
Yeah, today's Casual Friday.
But yeah.
Here's the question: who the fuck are you? Because I
have no idea, dude.
We're still.
I have no fucking idea.
We're not leaving until we get to the end of this.
Calum, who is a fantastic actor,
great actor,
on the
you
lead
my
body.
Because I just finished American Vandal last night.
But, yeah. On American Vandal, he's great. And I said, Calum, how do you see me? I asked him this in Toronto, and he's like, oh, man, I just see you as an artist. And
yeah, so that's my thing, is if I had to define you, because that's always fun.
That's cool. I like that. It sounds better than any,
yeah, I would say you're a creator, right? And I think that term is starting to be a little bit more legitimized, right? Like, for instance, I was talking earlier today and yesterday about how I just finished Dirk Gently. We had the pleasure of having Max on the show last week. The very first credit is created by Max Landis, right? Like created for the screen by Max Landis. And I think that's going to start taking on more and more importance, especially as there's so much more content. Again, now that word's got it's like a dirty word.
Get over it. Come on,
there's so many more shows
bros.
that are being delivered across the board, right? Especially TV right now. Like, TV is having this amazing renaissance of, like, TV is the place to be if you want to be creative, or at least online streaming is. So that I think that there's going to be, like, from what I'm seeing, is there's going to be, with television, there's never really necessarily like the auteur that there is with the movie. Or with the movie, always the director, they get credit, like the actor gets a little more credit. But now you're getting these showrunners that are coming in, these people who are creating these series coming in, and they're the names that I think are going to be starting to have a lot of cachet going forward, or at least that's what I'm noticing.
Yeah.
If you would ask me, I would just say executive producer, because that is one of those titles that no one actually knows what it means.
And that's the thing, is I don't know. You're a producer on all these different films and stuff, right? And like, I don't know, what does that mean?
Because to me, but then to answer your other question of one word, vision. To me, executive producer is the vision, and it's the person that is kind of going to work with the directors and producers and writers and all that stuff, and kind of be like, this is what I want to make. This is my vision.
Well, but at the same time, like, using Bodied as an example, right? That wasn't my vision. It was not my vision.
So was that come from Joseph? Who did that come from?
300% from Joseph, right?
And so he comes to you and says, I got this thing, and you go, I got it. You're gonna be a big stock. I'm sorry, I tried to bring that joke out.
No, actually, I was off directing a show,
which we can or can't talk about. I forget. Where are we at with that?
We can talk about.
We can't talk.
We
about
can't
that.
talk about. We
Plug
just can't
it.
talk about where it's going.
Right.
But,
Plug it. Plug it. Real quick.
Yeah. It's called Adi Shankar's Gods and Secrets. Very humble that my name's
I love it. I'm a big. Now I need to ask you a question. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Earlier, I walked in the room. First thing you said to me was, "Are you guys big wrestling fans?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that show have to do with wrestling?
No.
Okay. I thought I had an aha moment.
There's wrestlers in it.
Okay. Cool. cool.
Who's in it?
Who?
DDP.
Yeah, all right.
yeah, all
DDP,
right.
Yeah, doing some yoga.
Hell yeah.
Does he do
So
yoga?
what is it?
DDP yoga.
Now, I asked him this earlier at lunch, and he says to me,
I literally took a long
I can't
pause.
tell you what it is, because if I told you what it is, it would spoil how awesome it is. Like, it would spoil it for you.
He's paraphrasing the quote.
That's meta, and I like that.
Right.
you're
It's
right,
really dope.
artist.
I mean,
It's dope shit. As long as it qualifies as dope shit.
It's dope shit.
You did it.
It's dope shit. You know, otherwise, I'm not one of these guys who's trying to just kind of like make stuff and churn it out. Right. I don't know how to do that. Like I feel like maybe I would benefit from taking more of a sausage factory approach to this stuff.
You need advice.
To be like, well,
we're really good at it.
Yeah, we are really good at churning out a lot.
no, this is a project that's very personal to me.
Your name's in it.
Yeah. So is this 300% your vision?
Yeah.
You're fascinating. You're like a Rubik's cube.
So how many
Keeps turning
projects
sides.
do you
I'm gonna
have
get you.
going at any given time? Like right now, how many projects are you focused on, or at least which
right
projects
now-
are keeping you up at night?
Right now, I have 4 going at the same time.
4. You've got the second season of Castlevania that you're overseeing.
Yep.
Bodied just got awarded. We got 2 awards, TIFF and Fantastic Fest.
We got one
Congratulations on
Audience
those.
Choice Award. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
so
I cannot
that's
wait to watch that movie, by the way.
Yeah,
It
Tim,
is-
by the
it
way,
is- it is dope. I mean, it's a dope film. Again, it's 300% Joseph Kahn's vision. You know, I'm and obviously Marshall Eminem. You know, I'm lucky to be a part of that whole ride. I mean, yeah.
And so you're a producer on that.
yeah. Mhm.
And so what does that mean? Joseph Kahn's like, I need help making this film, and you give him money? Is that what a producer does?
He raised all the financing himself.
so why?
He-
So you just wanted to collaborate with you on it, knowing what?
Yeah,
like, what
I mean-
did you bring specifically to the table that Joseph?
Honestly, Joseph and I talk about this at night, like, because we generally like chat at like around 2 a.m. every day or every other day.
That's so LA.
Just kind of, because we're both up really late.
Sure.
You know,
Are you both on your beds in your pajamas, like feet
What
up
are
in
you
the
doing?
air? What you doing?
What are you
like
wearing?
kicking your legs?
It's totally like that.
I have
It's
this in my
totally like
no,
that. I
in
mean,
my
it's-
brain they have bunk beds, right? And it's at 2 o'clock. It's
okay.
like, hey man, you still up? Yeah, I'm still up.
What if it was
Yeah.
like big and they had walkie
It'd
talkies?
be like,
Fuck yes, that would be amazing.
you know, we have an interesting relationship because there's also the age difference, but he's one of the few guys I've met in my life. You know, who we're tapped into the same thing. And we speak similarly. We're just so similar,
right?
right? He's the first guy in my life where I was like, wow, man, I wish we knew each other growing up because we would have just hung out every day.
He's your best
It's
friend.
nice.
BFFs.
So we are BFFs, yeah.
Okay, good.
Greg, I wish we were
and on
there.
that, you know, on the film, you know, he told me the concept. He said, "Look, I want to, do this movie about battle rap." And I said, great. And you started, telling me the beats of it, and I was like, "Yeah, it sounds like a sports movie." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's a sports movie," And I
Gave the frame of reference.
gave him the frame of reference. So there was that, and then it went into production,
And so your producer credit comes from bouncing ideas off of him and being there for him and sounding board and going
yeah, I
over?
guess. I mean,
Okay.
he basically was like, "Look, will you?"
Cosign.
Yeah, effectively, and
Are you involved in the battle rap scene at all, or like a fan? Like, are you into that? Is that like a culture that you know intimately?
no,
So what's interesting about this, from what I know of you guys, you are the Power Ranger guy.
yeah,
Joseph Kahn, not at all the
Right.
Power Ranger guy. So you came and you're like, this is what we're doing, and he just made it happen based on the vision of all of it, and he had no idea about Power Rangers
Right.
at all. Is this the opposite of that then,
Absolutely.
where he is involved in that and
Absolutely.
loves it, and you're just kind of there to
Absolutely.
make it happen?
absolutely. I mean, the film has some of most of the top battle rappers today in it.
And that's what I think is so cool, is watching the trailer. Like,
These are real
it's,
battle
It's
rappers.
easy to watch, like, to hear about the concept of this movie and be like, I saw 8 Mile. Why would I want to watch this?
Right.
But then you see it and it's like Dumbfounded's in it, and Kid Twist wrote it.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are guys that are actually doing this, that have made what modern rap battles are in the
Yeah.
last 2 decades.
It's authentic to the culture.
Yeah.
It's about the culture. It's not made at the culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's a level of authenticity that exists in the film that would only exist because the people who made the film, other than myself, are either a part of the world or fans of the world, right? Even Marshall, Eminem, he came up through battle rap. Like that's like before he was the Eminem the music star. He was Eminem the battle rapper. He was the guy you didn't want to get in the ring with because he would destroy you.
Still is, but yeah,
still is, right? So yeah, I mean, I basically got a more like a front row seat and an introduction into this world because of this film. And obviously Joseph, goes. He's a legend in the movie business. I mean, in the music video business.
Backstreet Boys videos,
everything,
videos.
early NWA.
Recently, Taylor Swift videos.
Literally
obviously.
the biggest music video director of all time. When it comes to just hit after hit, generation after generation, it's just he's never slowed down.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I love following on Twitter too because I'm just like I love Twitter because it gives you that little glimpse into people's lives. And when her new video dropped, it's just like you could see there's still that level of he's just a mega fan, like he still has that like connection to like this is fucking cool what I get to do, and that's always fun to see.
And he's genuinely like that, right? He's genuinely plugged in. He feels everything, right? He's engaged with pop culture in a way that most people stop being once they leave the strike zone of that age group.
So you mentioned you were thinking about leaving. Obviously, you didn't leave the industry, which is good because you gave us some great stuff since. Do you have a project that you're like, this is the project that I want to do above all else? Or have you already done that project and now you're on to the next
Well, you're
thing?
saying there was 3 and we cut you off. First was Power Rangers. What were the other 2?
So I'm going to answer your question first.
Fantastic. Thank you for that because, let's be honest,
I appreciate
also,
it's...
You gave me the high five, though.
If you guys are ever in LA, hit me up. Love to have you over to my place because you'll see that I have literally notepads just with ideas, concepts, shots, scenes scribbled everywhere, right? So there's not one dream project. It's not like, man, I really want to do this Hard R Captain Planet idea which is a legitimate thing.
Hell yeah, it is.
Because really, how would that
More
have played
child
out,
soldiers,
right?
by the way.
No. They would have been not child soldiers. They would be labeled eco-terrorists because everything that Captain Planet was about happened. Everything that show warned us was going to happen. Our entire generation. They said, "Hey, don't do these things because this is going to happen." It happened.
So it's like a horror flick, and Captain Planet's just tearing people in half. Like
No. It's
I told y'all, motherfuckers.
Right through the chest of these guys cutting down the Amazon.
It's a dystopian. We live in a dystopian time. So to set Captain Planet today is to make it dystopian.
Interesting.
Right?
Is Captain Planet a force for good in this universe? Is he trying to change it back to?
Honestly, he's hardly in it because the Planeteers have
gone their separate ways.
Linka's dead. And Mati doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's taken over a whole island. He has a big beard. He's old. He's ripped. And he's got, like, gorillas who are just kind of soldiers. And he's been turned into, like, basically into Bin Laden by the government, right? But he's able to harness the heart power so he can spy. He's basically also the NSA, so he can spy on anyone and everyone. So I have a scene in there where they're, like, the president's in this bunker, and SEAL Team 6 is going in to take him out. And as soon as they end up on this island, they get ripped apart by gorillas and, trampled by elephants. And Mati walks up to the camera and he's like, no, fucking, he stamps it. And they're like, how the fuck did he know? And you cut back to the bunker and the president's there. And he's like, how the fuck did he know that he was coming? And they see an ant in the room and they start freaking out. And they're like, dude, fuck, kill that ant.
That's fucking awesome.
So,
God damn it. Just tell us about the notepad. Every notepad.
And Wheeler, the fire guy, he becomes basically the Punisher. Like, his ring still works, and he's out, like, he's like fucking lighting motherfuckers on fire, right? Because,
that's what you do when you have a ring that can produce fire.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and he's also protecting.
Protecting
a little girl who he finds in a brothel, who the wind ring is drawn to, and he realizes once this girl comes of age, she can activate the ring, and they can summon Captain Planet again. But again, Mati's broken off, so they don't know, like, you know, if they can even. Mati, was he going to kill us, or is he going to fucking work with us?
This sounds really cool.
But I have notepads of all of these things, right? I have a show that I'm developing at the moment with my good friend Phil Joannou, who directed The Punisher: Dirty Laundry.
Oh, nice.
And we want to shoot that next year, right? And I would say that's a passion project too. The bottom line is, the moment I stopped giving a fuck, that's the moment I quit, because I never got into this for the cash. It was never a cash grab. It was about making dope shit, because I had two problems with most of the content I was watching when I was a teenager and right before I moved out here, and which is why I moved out here. It was, one, most of the movies were not about anything. They felt empty and hollow. They felt like action pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the second one.
Well, no, you say something interesting there. Talk to me. I now you're this big shot artist guy making all
really
these
not a
things.
big shot.
Yeah,
No,
you're a big
to us.
shot. You're
Do I
you're
act
us.
like a big shot?
No. I don't mean in that sense. I mean the fact
that
in a bad way.
which
Yeah.
is a cool thing. You're
Wait, is it
not.
cool?
You are. Yeah. You're
you
the
just
modern-day
called
fat
Eminem
Hollywood dude.
Marshall. You know, that's what I mean.
Well,
like,
no,
you know what
but
I mean? Like,
to-
you know people. You're making awesome fucking things.
Yeah.
You have notepads with amazing Captain Planet shit on
You
them.
guys were like helping me write emails before this. I'm
I
really
thought
not
That was
pretty
our
cool.
pleasure, and we
Yeah.
said we'll give you the phone number if you ever need help again. Just call us. We'll conference you and we'll figure
So
it
no,
out.
but I love that though, because it's like, to me, I look up to you as the type of guy that has cool ideas and wants to get shit done. And I appreciate that you will talk to us and be like, hey man, like, what do you think about this? And it's like, that's how fucking things happen.
Yeah, and
right?
just to
Trusting
clarify,
people
to
around.
define big shot in my brain, and granted, I know that has kind of a connotation behind it, but I think what we admire about you is the same thing I admire about a lot of my friends that are creating stuff, which is that when you get to a level where you can work at your level and still be able to get the things done that you want to get done, that's really cool. That's really admirable, and that's something that I think is, to me, the dream, right? Like, I love following people who get to just do the things they want to do, and I know I'm oversimplifying your life because I've seen the stress that you go through a little bit, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you put the work in for sure. But like, if you were to say, Nick, what's happiness look like for you? I would say nothing in my day that I don't want to do, and I get constantly challenged by new levels of projects that I think will make me a better creator, a better person, better whatever, you name it. Right. And I think that's what we see in you when we look at you. And so that to me is like, not necessarily big shot, but big time. Like, that is, you're operating at a very high level and you're able to still make great art, and that's fucking cool because you don't see that all that often, right? Like, you could probably name, I could give you 10 directors off the top of my head. We won't do it now, but like, out of all 10 of those, maybe one of them gets to do the project that he really wanted to do, and it turns out the way he really wanted it to turn out, right? And then, but I go and I watch Castlevania, and I'm like, this is, I could see your hands in that, right? I could definitely tell that there was, like, your influence was on that, and that's really cool.
I genuinely really appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot.
Well, it's great. It's hopeful, because what you're saying is, you know, what everyone kind of feels, which is that a lot of the way things have been done, a lot of the way television has traditionally been done, a lot of the way films have traditionally been done is, I don't want to say dying because I hate that word. I don't think things are dying. It's evolving. It's evolving past the mediums that our parents and their parents loved. And what that means now is it's really hard to define, which is cool, but it's also super scary.
Well, that's
right?
where content comes from.
Well, exactly. That's why people say content. But what I'm talking about is more like, even just look at the way TV was made, right? It was either done in like 30-minute chunks or hour chunks, right? You know, 22 minutes that you had to make a content, or of the show itself. But now you don't have to worry about that anymore, right? But that in and of itself right there is fucking mind-blowing.
Right.
Because you can make like when Netflix released House of Cards, right? And the first episode was like 51 minutes. Everyone was like, whoa! Like, but it really was a big deal, because you're like, oh, you can just, if you need those extra minutes to really tell that story beat, you got it. And that's scary. That's weird, because that means, like, is this train going to come off the rails? Like, what's going on? I don't understand.
What it means from I guess my perspective, not what it means, what it's meant from my perspective is Spielberg, Lucas, that whole generation, they effectively created these blueprints. Right? They created these blueprints, these magical blueprints. Close Encounters, Jaws, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and it's more than just those two guys, but that entire generation, they created this stack of blueprints that became these, these wide release theatrical American
the Hollywood
blockbusters, right?
Right.
Some of them weren't intended to be blockbusters. They just became massively popular. And these blueprints since that time have been perfected. They've been narrowed down. And they've become blueprints. They've become legitimate blueprints that, you're saying, okay, buddy, Greg, we need you to just direct a Star Wars movie. Here's the blueprint.
Just follow
They're not saying, Greg, you got great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go do something interesting in the Star Wars universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go shake up the formula. They're saying, here's the formula.
Here's
Don't
what
fuck
works.
it up.
Yeah, do it.
I think Iron Man 3 is a perfect example, right?
Or the two current Star Wars movies that are in production.
Which again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? When you have the blueprint, it works, and you're executing it well.
Sure.
And when I was younger, I used to just go like, fuck you. The rebel in me would just flip off the man, and I've come to realize, like, look, these are like mega corporations. Right? They're like these massive conglomerates. Like they have to do the middle of the road version of it. They just have to. Their ecosystem is set up in such a way that if they don't do it, it's a massive problem, right? So they are powerless. It's not like they're choosing to make these middle of the road movies. They're powerless to do anything but the middle of the road movie.
That's what they have to do to survive and keep all these employees going.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
But what our generation has the opportunity to do for the first time, right? Because before the Hollywood machine controlled three things, three parts of the puzzle that if you didn't have them, you couldn't fucking make a movie, right? One was the technology, just things like the cameras, the lenses, all that shit. Like if you were an independent filmmaker anywhere in the world, like you just didn't have access to the best technology. So whatever you made wouldn't look good. Two, they had they controlled all the stars, right? So like if you didn't have Tom Cruise or Keanu or Schwarzenegger or one of those guys in your movie, it didn't matter how good it was. It wasn't going to be viewed on the same level as a movie with Tom. And three, they controlled the distribution, right? So even if you made the greatest film of all time, you couldn't get it seen by anybody because they controlled the distribution. I mean, they literally had the throttle on that fucker, right? So it was very hard for independent companies to get studio level distribution. Then guys like you came in. Guys like me, to some extent, who started going, all right, cool. Well, I'm just going to put this shit on YouTube, see what happens. And all of a sudden, the distribution went away. The whole idea of this mythical movie star, this unicorn movie star that's going to grace us with their presence once every year and a half, 2 years, with a new film, and everyone's going to line up because Tom's in it, or because Brad's in it, or Keanu's in it. That started going away.
Even
right?
The Rock doesn't work.
No one works because the reality is the curtain's been lifted, right?
Holding out for Jumanji. We're holding out for it.
The curtain has been lifted, and technology.
Has it been lifted?
And technology
100% though?
and
right
technology. You cannot discount the technology because literally, you right here. If we flip this around and we look back there, you have all the equipment necessary to make an independent film.
I have a lot of people ask me, how to break into online media as an industry. Where a lot of people, obviously, where we used to work, IGN is a great company, and a lot of people want to get in there.
Do you know?
And I have,
yeah, that'd be dope. Just like a coffee.
coffee.
Should I have a coffee? Am I too amped up?
No.
You're perfect. This is great.
I'm on your level right now, which is great.
This is great.
But yeah, I always keep
I'm not
people
gonna
this.
get hate tweets from you fuckers, am I?
No. Our audience doesn't hate.
I didn't mean to call you guys fuckers.
I mean, a lot of people like ask me over the years, like, what skills do I need to like get into a place like IGN? And some people are like, I really want to be an editor, and I'm like, well, you have to understand that those skills. So back in the day, if you learned editing, like that was a specialized skill that you knew if you could get into the industry, you'd have a great job and get paid a lot. But that skill has since become the tools are so accessible now that I'm like, you almost don't want to pigeonhole yourself as an editor because anyone who was 18 or 15 or 12 who started on YouTube has started using those skills. And so maybe not to disparage editors, especially film editors, because that is a high art form. But like if you're doing online media, I'm like there's zero barrier to entry anymore. So like you have to think a lot more of like you got to learn camera work, you got to learn editing work, and you got to learn all these things that it takes to create one video. But then that's exactly what you're saying. Like then you just have the basis to build on that, and there's really no excuses.
And we saw the exact same thing play out, this exact same scenario, right? Because you know that quote, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
History keeps repeating itself. Read back to the creation and the evolution of the printing press.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find these crazy parallels.
Oh yeah.
And they're not necessarily crazy because it's the same thing.
That's
there was a
right?
communication medium that was the written paper that was then revolutionized by this powerful tool called the printing press, which allowed people to mass produce text into these little books and allowed ideas to spread.
So for you, where are you? You said, you know, what made you move out to Hollywood.
Yeah.
It was that you're looking, you're like, oh, well, this is empty. They're not telling stories anymore.
Well, and I wanted to communicate. You know, I viewed this as a communication tool because, again, you know, we talked about this earlier, how I grew up in India. Born in India, grew up there, you know, lived there till I was almost 5.5.
What part?
Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Then Madras.
Okay.
And then Bombay. And then we moved over to Hong Kong. Singapore. It's just my life was this hodgepodge of countries and various cultures and never really fitting in. And the one common narrative thread was some of these characters, some of these movies, right? That everyone, like, all of a sudden, you know, I could talk to people about Captain Planet or Wolverine,
Sure.
or Power Rangers. I could just literally have a conversation. I was like the new kid in school. I was in a new culture, but I could all of a sudden relate through these fantastical cultural myths that our generation shared in, that all bought into together, and it allowed me to communicate across cultures. And that's why when other folks in entertainment are like, man, Netflix is ruining everything. Like, we need the theatrical window and we need the this, and why, why is all the... My response to that is, yeah, they might be killing the revenue streams. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. We'll see how that shakes up, right? Because the whole idea of like, it's out, but you can't watch it because it's behind the paywall. I think that's a slightly dated way to look at this. But the bottom line is what these streaming services are doing, you know, Netflix, all of them, is because you're releasing content. Now, let's just call it content for the sake of today, right?
Okay.
What they're doing is they're taking this content and they're allowing it to be viewed at the same time worldwide. So what they're doing is they're helping bring the world together, because all of a sudden now the whole world is watching the same stuff. Sure. So the reference points, the cultural reference points, the differences that in theory divide us start getting obliterated.
Look, Greg, I know you look to me. I know the theater landscape is changing.
Nick's always like, oh, the theater, I hope the theater's there forever, and I hope it's amazing.
I want theater to be there because
I want to watch my movies at home. All right, and I'll pay you more. I'll pay the premium to get it and watch it there. I'll watch them on Virgin America.
At home because you want to watch a movie on one screen while you're playing Destiny 2 on the other screen and not pay attention to that. And then you go, I don't know, I don't really like that movie. And I'm like, what happened? And you're like,
making good points.
You're like,
making real
what movie have I said that about?
That sounds like you.
I'm just saying. But I get it. Trust me, I understand, because this is a losing battle that I'm fighting. Yeah. I sat in the theater over the weekend and I started watching, and my wife and I went and saw Kingsman 2. That movie starts off, it's super fun. And then the people next to me all decided that it was time that they were in there. They just assumed they were in their own living room and they just started talking. And I'm like, I literally thought to myself, should I ask these people to stop talking? Right? Should I Sean Finnegan these people and start throwing ice at them? Or should I Greg Miller these people and go mode on them, you know, all of a sudden?
I'll take it away.
And then I'm like, you know what? I think this is just the world, right? I think this is just the world we live in. And there are some battles that you can fight, and granted, I think theatrical release for movies is definitely a battle worth fighting, and I love that it's forcing some people to think outside of the box with things like the Alamo Draft House, and I love that everything's reserved seating now, and you got the recliners. But at a certain point, you can't change how people act. And Twitter and social media and everything has made people just like constantly addicted to like everything, talking to each other. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask these people to be quiet. I'm going to just get up and move. Coward. I'm just going to get up and move. Then it ended up being good because I got to make out with my wife and no one could see me. So that worked out well. That did work out well. But they almost ruined the movie for me, right? And so I get it. For the first time, I actually thought of you. Not when I was making out with my wife, but prior to that, I thought of you because I was like, Greg, I was like, is Greg right? Should I tell Greg he's right? And then I'm like, no, not yet. You should. Not yet. Not yet.
I don't know. You bring up an interesting point with people being on Twitter and all that stuff, and something you were saying earlier about back in the day, you had the 3 devices and they gave you stuff. It wasn't interactive. I mean, I guess video games were, but with movies are an interactive experience when people go in groups with their friends and stuff and start talking. I'm not standing up for that because that shit sucks. But that's why people enjoy watching in their living room, because you can look. If me and you were watching in our living room, we don't need to worry about other people around us. We can make snide comments and ask questions.
The problem with the theatrical experience, because I see what you're saying, right? You're like, why the fuck does this experience have to die? There is still some merit to it, right? And I think that's the argument you're making. That's the argument that Chris Nolan's making. I think that's an argument that a lot of prominent filmmakers from another generation are making. They're like, this thing shouldn't die. Like, yeah, okay, maybe box office isn't what it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Maybe the fact that 90% of the revenue of all movies comes from 10 movies is
a bad system.
And they're all Disney movies.
Is
they're
a
all Disney owned.
You know, it's just a reality. It's
that is
the reality of today. You know, without casting judgment on it. And I agree with you. I don't think the theatrical experience should die. I think the problem with it right now is that it's ill-defined, right? Because you're telling me that you went to the theater and there were people texting, tweeting, talking in front of you, and that made you uncomfortable, right? What I'm hearing is you sat down in this community experience and you and those other people weren't sure of the codes of conduct.
You weren't playing by the same social rules.
Yeah, our definitions of what the
what is the
experience
social
needed to be is
contract that you as a moviegoer in this theater are entering into, right? Like the Alamo Draft House, that's a great example because that social contract is clearly defined, right? For instance, let's say we had a, and this is a terrible idea, by the way. This should not exist. But let's say we had a theater that was almost like a haunted house, and it was basically exclusively programming for horror movies, right? So, like, if a new horror movie is coming out, you want to watch it in this horror movie theater, right? And then they encourage you to be loud. They encourage you to participate, and take selfies, and
be an asshole.
Do that, right? Not necessarily be an asshole, but because people are showing up.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the code of conduct, right? So when people, we're running into problems with these movie theaters on a purely sociological level, where people are showing up to this shared experience, not knowing what is kosher and what isn't, because the reality is
minions on the screen tell them to silence their
that's
cell
my thing
phones.
I don't buy it. They tell you the rules at the front.
Yeah, but they do it in such bullshit ass ways with no real consequence, or else we'll kick you out. How many times have you seen people get kicked out? I can count on one hand.
Well, I mean, it's the reason.
Greg Miller
it's the reason
he didn't get kicked out.
It's the reason. Well, I shouldn't have been kicked out. I wasn't wrong.
But you made at the end of the day, you made more people uncomfortable than he did.
Not me, dude.
I would have kicked you out.
I fucking loved it, bro.
Thanks, buddy. But you were too lazy to get out of your seat like everybody else. That's why Alamo works and why Alamo is a good experience for in terms of phones and talking and bullshit. Because they're like, don't text, don't talk. If you do raise an order card, and we'll come fucking warn that person if they get another warning, they're tossed out. And it works. Whereas like I go there and people aren't on their phones and they aren't being assholes.
See, I like that because I mean I think the reason why I'm
you hate it for dumb reasons because you're dumb.
No, I hate it for those reasons.
Why do you hate it?
I hate it because I think that the Alamo, more than anything, You're going in there understanding that you're not paying attention to this movie. This fucking waiter's running around. Like, there's people. It's a free textathon. You can do whatever the fuck you want in that
Bullshit
place.
it is. Bullshit. We're
See,
seeing
I feel like-
Thor there. You tell me how many phones you see.
I feel like that doesn't bother me, which is weird. But I think it's because that world is different than a normal movie theater to me. That world is, there's going to be lights on. There's going to be people walking around. It is a little bit more freeform. It does literally feel like a gigantic living room. And for whatever reason, people don't seem to talk that much there. That doesn't distract me at all. I never hear it.
Yeah.
That's because you never watch a movie there. But every time we try to watch it, it doesn't work.
That's fair. But also,
has happened a
the
couple
waiter
times.
does bring me free refills of Diet Coke, and I love that. So there is that. Like, there's a trade-off there. I'm talking about the normal movie-going experience of, like, you go into a theater and there is that social contract of, look, we're all going to be here together. We're going to have this shared common experience, even though we're probably never going to see each other after this. We're going to have this common experience together. For me, it's like a tribal thing. It's an old sense of community. And what you're saying is very valid, right? Because before, and I think still to some degree, movies are windowed as far as regions are concerned, right? Sometimes they'll come out in America first, and then they'll open domestic. Foreign later, right? Recently, I think most of the time now, it's probably worldwide. But I like the idea of being able to share content through your living room, but it's not the same, right? Like, I know that maybe you're watching American Vandal, but we don't get this, we're not experiencing it at the same time. So I grapple with this a lot. I think about this a lot, where I'm like, are we losing that sense of, like, personal community with every new digital thing that happens?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are. Well, we're redefining what community means. Right? Because community used to be defined by physical location. It is no longer.
Right.
Right? Physical space, the reality is physical space is becoming less valuable by the day. Physical real estate is becoming less valuable.
You're not from San Francisco.
By the day.
Well, he's from LA. It's pretty expensive down there too.
You know what he means, though.
Yeah.
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 It's the reason this works. And the fact that we can be a small community as kind of
True.
funny best friends and still have a thing and a business and everything
It's
else.
kind of, you know, the mind-blowing thing, I just thought of this when you said that, as you said that. It's the reason I get to do this, right? Because I'm not like, when you guys called me a big shot earlier, I was like, huh? Right? Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm not J.J. Abrams, right? I'm not fucking James Cameron. Like, those guys are Spielberg. Those guys are big shots. They actually get to do whatever the fuck they want, right? Cameron rolls in. He's like, all right, kids, I need $500 million. And they're like, we'll give you $1 billion.
I'm like, great, I'll give you 4 Avatar films in return and
Like,
2 new Terminator
It'll take
films.
40
I'd be like,
years.
fuck yes.
That's being a big shot, right?
Yeah.
The reality is I'm a niche act. I'm a niche act, right? I've got an audience, but it's niche. It's not super mainstream, right? It's not like when I walk into the mall, it shuts down. But at the same time, I do have an audience.
Yeah.
Right? I interact with that audience. I have a fan base. Probably have a lot of people who think who are not fans too.
Sure.
Which comes with the
It's
territory.
the internet, yeah.
But the reality is, I'm a niche act. But that's okay in the world of the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need, I think the problem we're having with this whole influencer, if I can shine the spotlight back into the internet for a second, we have this whole influencer ecosystem, right? Where brands are throwing cash at, and they did that to me too for a bit. They were like, hey, you're, will you hold up our cell phone, or will you,
I don't know anyone that would hold up a product for a camera for money.
They didn't pay you.
They're
This
not
is
paying,
not a
Health Aid's not
kombucha
paying me.
ad.
Paid for it.
We should go after Health Aid Kombucha. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, Jesus,
Sorry, I'm
my
sorry to
nipple.
interrupt you.
no, dude.
No, this is, and I think this is why we call you Big Shot, because obviously you do it in a loving way, not in a bad way. But it's the fact that you're one of us. We're all cut from the same cloth,
Yep.
and you're doing your niche act on the biggest stage. Like, you're doing it in Hollywood, and you're making what you want happen. In terms of, like, I always joke around here, right? Of like, my grand plan would be to somehow make a bunch of money, and then befriend John Hamm and Michael Keaton, and then all I want to do is shoot a Kingdom Come, DC comic Kingdom Come, do the Kingdom Come trailer. Not do the whole movie, just the trailer. Where John Hamm's Superman, at the very end, Michael Keaton spins around in the bat cave in the chair and says, "Tell that to your tailor about the blacks." And I'm like, but you do that. You go out and you make the Power
I
Rangers.
literally do exactly that.
You go
With
out and you're like,
Rita Repulsa.
yeah, exactly.
Which is the most baller thing of all time.
I may have done something closer to what you said.
Is it out yet? Did I miss it? Did I see it?
Nope.
Oh yeah. All right. When's that coming out?
See, that's the
Did
beauty.
you steal my idea? Can I be a producer on it?
That's the beauty. That's the beauty
down, you're in
of
it.
the internet, right? Like, I don't believe in the billboards and the hype and the Entertainment Weekly has 6 stills from set. I'm just like, yo, it's going to drop one day, and you're going to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, that's why this works,
That's
right?
why
It is
this
the thing
works,
of like,
yeah.
again, you drop something awesome and we all share it and everybody shares it and everybody's super
Right.
stoked.
People generally want to be surprised, right?
Hell yeah.
There's good surprises, which is like, hey, you like wrestling? Check out this Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video. Holy shit, this is brilliant. This is literally a brilliant deconstruction of why we all love this theatrical art form known as professional wrestling. This theater show, this theatrical improv show called professional
This
wrestling.
soap opera.
Right?
Yeah.
Where the guys in it believe it's real, so the acting is amazing because they literally are like, no, I'm this guy. No, brother, my leg drop. It just just
It'll
puts guys
fuck
out,
you up.
brother.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Have you heard a heel kick yet?
Hmm?
Have you heard a heel kick? You follow me on Twitter, so I tweet about this movie I'm producing, Heel Kick.
No,
I'll tell you about it later.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're doing a wrestling movie?
Yeah, it's similar to what you're talking about, where my friend Danny Mac up there in Canada, right? He made this movie, and then he was like, "Oh, hey, do you want to see it?" And I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, that's really good." And he's like, "Do you want to produce it?" And I was like, "What does that mean? Like, do I have to give you money?" He's like, "No, just help me promote it." I was like, "Oh, okay." So now I'm a producer on this thing because it's this really funny movie that my friend made about these 2 burnout backyard wrestlers who then have to go into wrestling school and try to make it work.
Yeah. Just to clarify,
Yeah.
Unbodied I was on before there was a script.
Okay.
So he's
I
saying
wasn't.
he's-
I got tagged
he's
on
saying
lately.
He's
doing
a real
nothing.
producer.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
right.
totally nothing.
You're
oh,
just-
shit. So
yeah.
they put your name on it after the movie was done.
Pretty much. They added some more stuff. I'm in the front of it too.
It's still
talking
being,
about
it's still being distributed. So
Right.
So Greg kind of came on just to help with that, to help facilitate that process and
That's
get
dope.
and spread awareness of it.
Yeah,
And
'cause it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Dude, I feel like there should be more wrestling. Actually, you know what's crazy? I reached out to Paul Heyman. Like, she was like,
Hell yeah, you
the
did.
third person I reached out to when I got to LA. Like, the first,
How long ago did you get to LA?
when I was 22,
You're 24 now?
32.
Okay. A decade. Okay.
Yeah, a decade.
Anyways, you reached out to Paul Heyman
Paul
right away?
Heyman, and he just, he'd left WWE. He's like, I'm done with wrestling. I don't, this whole thing. And I'd convinced an old school producer to give me a small office in his office, which happened to be at Paramount. So all of a sudden I was like driving into Paramount every day, and I felt like
that's
super
awesome.
different,
Yeah.
right?
That's awesome.
And I would just like blast loud rap music as I was driving to the gate every day. I don't know why. I just felt the urge to do
This kid's cutting edge. Look out,
peacock.
everybody.
I was more like the guy from Office Space,
Love that.
right? Like,
That's awesome.
Turning it down if you saw someone scary.
right. I'd be like, sorry, Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Please tell me you ran into Eddie Murphy a bunch, like more often than
Oh
you
no,
care
actually, like
to
blocked
admit.
in his car because he was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was
Bet he
filming
was happy about
Meet
that.
Dave, and I blocked in his car. But yes.
I would be terrified to meet Eddie Murphy.
What?
Oh my God. Yeah, no way. You
Fucking
kidding me?
terrified to meet Eddie Murphy.
What was that story? I was
Paul
gonna
Heyman.
tell you?
Paul
Paul
Heyman.
Heyman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Paul. So Paul comes in to meet with me when I'm at Paramount, and he was telling me about he was writing a book about his life, and I was like, whoa, stop. Just like with Bodied, where I was like, yeah, this is cool. It's a sports movie.
Mm-hmm.
With the Paul Heyman story, I was like, Paul, I'd literally just seen a trailer for the wrestler hadn't even come out yet. But I'd read the script. I'd read it because the script was floating around, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I want to make stuff like this, because this is actually like wrestling. And I said, Paul, your life, it's literally Almost Famous meets the wrestler. That's what it is. It's the story of the wrestler, but just told through the lens of a little kid who snuck in to the show and somehow got like full stage
Right.
Backstage access. Yeah.
right? I don't know if you guys know the Paul Heyman story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but he was like literally, for those of you in the audience who don't know, he would sneak in. He called Vince McMahon Sr. and he was like, hey, I'm a photographer for the magazine. And they're like, oh, great, come on in. And they gave him credentials and stuff, and he was just
I did that for 10 years at IGN. Totally faked my way through that. Now, let me ask a dumb noob, I don't understand wrestling question. Which one's Paul Heyman?
Paul Heyman is
Not the pallbearer.
no. The advocate of Brock Lesnar, sure, but more importantly, EC fucking W, man.
And
he ran ECW. He is the fucking awesomest, coolest. I mean, outside of the professional wrestling, you know what WWF and WCW were trying to be, right? He was like, fuck that. Got Eastern Championship Wrestling, made it into Extreme Championship Wrestling.
He's Paul Heyman. I've never, I guess, verbalized this out loud. In fact, DDP has repeatedly told me, please do not admit that you watch wrestling.
Why?
Because
I think it's okay now.
No, it's okay now, but to our age group, right? Because it goes back to the same thing we were talking about with Power Rangers and Captain Planet and video games. We were watching a different show than the adults were.
Right.
To the adults, they were like, "What the fuck is this?" To us as kids, we were like, "This is amazing! They're wearing these crazy costumes. They're superheroes. They're doing these
It's
super
comic
moves."
books come to life.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It was comic books meets sports theater for us, right? To that older generation, it was like a carny act. They literally viewed it through the lens of like a carnival thing. So like, you know, the amount of like, you look at for those of you who don't know, DDP, it's Diamond Dallas Page, right? He was the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and now he's a yoga mogul.
Is he really?
DDP Yoga. Yeah, it's a real
He's
thing.
a
It's
yoga
awesome.
mogul. Yeah. He travels all the
yoga.
world.
There you go.
But he's doing it to save lives, right? He's literally rehabbed. Google DDP and Arthur. He literally saved a guy's life who was crippled through yoga.
Wow.
And
Right?
he did it with who was the Jake the Snake,
right?
the redemption of Jake the Snake.
Now-
There's an awesome documentary you got to watch about that. And he also, when Boogie was, I mean, Boogie's still obviously struggling with his weight. He just had the surgery. Still looks like everything's going great. But DDP and Boogie got together. Where
Really?
DDP came to his house and like do
literally
push-ups.
comes
and
to
all that.
people and helps them. This is he's devoted his life to going out there and helping people. Right now, if Scottie Pippen went out and rehabbed Larry Bird. I know nothing about sports, so I don't know if the
That works out. That works out.
If
That checks out,
Scottie
yeah.
Pippen went out and like rehabbed Larry Bird, it would be like a big deal. It would be like a big news story. Like, wow, Larry Bird was on cocaine and he fucked his life up and he was living in a trailer and he was really on his deathbed and Scottie Pippen came and rehabbed him and helped him get his life back together and they made a documentary about it. What would have happened, right? But you look at the way the generation above ours viewed professional wrestling as this carny act, as this like kind of like ugh,
Less than form of entertainment.
Exactly.
Blue collar.
Exactly.
That's not for us.
Like kind of trashy.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
It's that documentary is very well known within the wrestling community.
Sure.
Once you get outside of it, people are like wrestling, yeah, whatever. It's almost like they're not the real deal. They're
Right.
not, So why did I get into Dallas?
Paul
We
Heyman.
were talking about
Paul.
Paul Heyman.
He
I
asked
was
who Paul
explaining
Heyman is.
ECW. We got over that. Well, the one thing, and then anyways, he did ECW and it was awesome and fucking the best. And
ECW was a competitor to WWE.
Not
Kind-
no,
I mean,
it was
like
no.
the-
It was like the
Punk rock.
rebellious. Yeah.
You know how, like, do you remember when WWF became
Were
the
they owned by
Attitude?
the same company? Or?
Do you remember when WWF became like the
Don't cuck
Attitude
me,
Era?
sir.
Well, I'm in the
I know.
middle of my point to answer your question. WWF becomes the Attitude Era and Stone Cold's
Yes.
drinking beer and their tits on TV and blah, blah. They were stealing all that from ECW.
Right.
And then eventually ECW goes out of business and WWF or WWE buys them.
Buys just the brand ECW.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then-
I assume the roster as well of whoever was.
It didn't exist.
no,
at the
actually-
that time they were out.
People
Yeah.
back.
It was like RVD, Taz,
Yeah.
maybe
'Cause
Sabu, Lance Storm,
A lot of the, some of those
Like
people had
those
already come
guys,
over and it was
Balls
late.
Mahoney. Rhino.
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah,
Gore.
yeah. God, fucking Rhino. Yeah.
But what Paul Heyman was a master of was figuring out an artist like Vince McMahon needed these like well-rounded performers.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman didn't need well-rounded performers. He needed guys that were really good at one thing, and he would book them in a such he would craft their storylines, their characters, their matches in a way that really highlighted the one thing they were really good at.
He's the ultimate producer of
Got it.
professional wrestling,
Got
where
it.
it's just kind of like understanding what two people should have a storyline and what that storyline should be, and when they revisit that storyline and how to match those guys up against each other.
And
Where
he'll let you
Vince
be
McMahon
raw.
had always been more
Yeah.
the guy that's like, this guy's a big guy and that guy's a big guy and they're going to hit each other.
Right.
And like so, like when like a good example is Steve Austin, right? Like he's stunning Steve Austin in WCW. He's got these like golden locks and all this shit. He gets dropped and he has a huge chip on his shoulder. He shows up at ECW and Paul's like, "That's your character. You're this guy who got fired from WCW and you're fucking angry about it and make fun of Hogan and make fun of this and make fun of the whole big wrestling industry and how that's gonna go." And like that goes over so well that then WWF picks up Stone Cold Steve Austin, who becomes Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So
off
I
the races.
feel like, you know, I feel like the closest comparable, not comparable, or maybe for me in my mind, like Paul and me are very similar in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing for us. It was the craziest one. I mean, like a lot of things have been crazy in my life. I shouldn't say that. But in terms of when we quit IGN and went out on our own and found it kind of funny, like the day it was all popping off and it was like a big story in our industry that we had done this, Paul Heyman tweeted organically of just like, "Yeah, we're only 5 days into the new year, and I hear at GameOverGreggy and his friends," and I'm like, "What the fuck is happening? Like, how does Paul Heyman know anything about this right now?"
he's like tapped in.
No,
man.
I know.
He's like super plugged
yeah,
in, right? You know, there's some guys who just never age, and he's one of them.
Yeah, no,
He's
on top
literally
of
one of them. DDP, by the way, is also one of them, right? He's literally. Dallas and I have been friends for a decade, literally a decade. Like literally, if I ever get married, he's a groomsman at my wedding. Like we're, you know, he's if something's going on with me, he's one of the first people, if not the first one. Yeah, he's one of the first people, if not the first person I call. And
we gotta go
he's
to this
also
wedding.
super plugged in. He's also super plugged in, and I think a lot of wrestlers are that way.
Yeah,
because they learn early on that it's not about them, it's not about their character, it's about the audience.
Yeah, gotta be in tune with that.
Right? And I feel like a lot of people in Hollywood have forgotten that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the audience. It's about giving the people what they want.
We're so lucky. I was telling you earlier, like we were talking, and I was like, if we had to define what we do, we don't make podcasts, we don't make videos, we make community. And it's like that is all we need to focus on is making sure that they're happy.
And hopefully this community doesn't mobilize against me after.
Absolutely.
After tonight.
They're not
they
going to
will not.
mobilize against.
But going back to a point that you made earlier, which was that, and I think it's worth exploring too, which is that there is sort of two tracks that are here now, right? There is the homegrown, your own community on the internet, and you're right, that's a niche play, right? That is the kind of thing that we're obviously doing that because we like being in that space. We like the one-to-one interaction with people. We don't want that buffer anywhere between us and the chat. That's probably there being like, Nick's talking again. Oh God, wait 5 seconds to see if he goes off the fucking rails. There's that, but then there's also that
you're not making a case that our audience is nice.
they like to fuck with me. It's true, but I fuck with
as
them
long
right
as they don't
back.
like to fuck with me, we're
Nah,
cool.
nah, fine. But I love that. But it is a long-term strategy, right? And I think that's why I understand a lot of people, specifically from like more of an older school model, don't understand it or don't want to play in that, because there is still something amazing about the Hollywood dream, right? That dream of, I'm going to write this one thing or do this one thing, then boom, I'm off to the races. And then Kevin Feige is going to call and be like, you got Ant-Man 3 or whatever. You know, you're like, cool, here's my pay. And they're like, no, you can't do that, but just direct the movie anyway. You're like, cool. So there is that, but I just wonder, like, I mean, I know that they can both exist and they can coexist, but I wonder where that convergent point is going to go, right?
Well, that's my thing would be like,
Things never converge.
do you see? Don't you see it being that the people who get this and understand this are going to eat the lunch of the people who don't? Because it is bringing internet mentality to everything else, and it's the reason bringing this all together with wrestling. The Rock's so unstoppable, right? Because The Rock's awesome on screen. You love watching him, but I love watching his Instagram stories more and him talking directly to me and telling me what's happening, taking these photos and doing this thing.
It's already happened, you know. Marvel's a master of this. Netflix is a master of this, right? They've really figured out the internet, and it's no longer, you know, just this like weird dial-up thing. It's a life form. It's a living, breathing. The internet is a living, breathing organism, and those people that are tapped into part of it, like yourselves, you can feel it. You can feel the ebb and the flow, and you get a sense of what can work and what will work and what definitely won't work.
It's the crossover, right? Of like, I think the people who get it in the way, not that we're going to cross over me, The Rock or something, but get it in feeding off the energy of an audience and being part of it and what this actually is and what being an internet celebrity is in 2017, right? I would have to venture to guess then the people who are the YouTubers who have the mindset now that they want to become the actors when they flip over and when they cross over, when they start appearing in films and stuff, right? That's the new version
totally,
of The
but
Rock.
it's bigger than the Hollywood dream in films, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Let me ask you guys a question. Who is the biggest millennial brand to come out of 2016?
2016?
Yeah.
Jake Paul.
Bigger than Jake Paul.
Is there such thing?
Millennial brand, yeah.
Millennial brand, like it's
A brand that millennials have embraced as their own.
Emojis.
Chubbies.
I don't know why you're looking at me. Tim's like, let's
I've
just
already
see.
given it a guess.
Tim's like, let's
What's
just
Nick gonna
see
say?
what Nick says.
That a clip, I mean, you're literally like looking at this and going, wow, this brand figured out how to like really mobilize millennials who are, you know, who we're seen as disengaged and like
Snapchat,
apathetic
maybe?
and like,
No, it's not 2016,
you know, we're
no.
watching a movie while we're texting, while we're watching another movie while we're playing a game. Like we're seen as these like the ADD generation who are like lazy and, you know, but then there's one brand that somehow captivated most millennials.
BuzzFeed.
Even bigger than BuzzFeed.
Snapchat.
In 2016.
My guess is Snapchat, but that's not 2016.
Ready?
Yes.
Bernie Sanders.
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't.
No,
You're gonna
That
have
was
to
a fun
give me
guessing
bit
game.
more.
That was a good guessing game.
Well, I mean, that was the thing. You know, that like so many people, so many young people were behind him, right, and believed in him, and they wanted that, and like wore the Bernie shirts, and were out there with the stickers.
Kill
moving that
Bern.
way. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it wasn't one of the big two, right? I mean, he was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what I
The
mean.
other guy.
He wasn't going to be the Democratic nominee, but like he got really close to being the Democratic nominee with. What I mean, basically an agenda of socialism or whatever, where I was like, oh, hey, like, you know, we're all in this together. Let's do this.
That the millennials, that our generation really embraced, right? And this was done through the power of social media.
Yeah.
It was using the same community building tools that you guys are doing, right? So when I say niche, I don't necessarily mean bad. I wrote an article about the future of stardom, and if you Google. I can actually pull it up on my phone, and it was
Cool Greg can Google it if you need someone.
Cool Greg's not even over there.
Cool Greg, not
Damn
there.
it, Cool Greg, you failed me for the last time.
Yeah, it's you know, it's evolving, and the reality is bigger isn't necessarily better. That's the part
Sure.
that everyone's missing, right?
Sure.
Like you take the best example of this, because America as a country, as an empire, has kind of bought into this whole philosophy of bigger is better, right? Like
Yeah.
we should be in every industry, we should do this. So like you look at two very comparable companies, Disney and Nintendo. They're very similar companies,
fan.
right? But then Disney starts this expand with it starts with the expansionism. We're gonna get into all these different sectors. We're gonna grow. We're gonna acquire, get bigger, and Nintendo, you know, wants to stay a small hardware company, right? It's not that one's bad and one's good. It's not that. It's just these differences in mindsets, right? Visions. And today, we're seeing that the future really favors the niche. It favors and I think when I was talking about brand deals earlier, right? When I was saying that these companies come in with these brand deals, and they're going up to these influencers and saying, "Hey, promote my drink. You have 10 million whatever on whatever platform."
Right.
Those are
69,000 on Twitter.
those are silly. Those are money down the drain, because it's not 10 million. It's not about getting in front of 10 million people. It's about getting in front of as many of your potential customers as possible. Right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
your community, I'm sure if you start doing surveys, and as it grows, which it will grow because you guys are dope, you're going to start realizing like certain trends, certain like similarities between the psychological makeup of the people that define your community.
100%.
Right?
I mean, that's our whole story.
Right.
I mean, us leaving IGN to do this, it's about focusing on the right audience, not just a bigger audience.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's I think that's something that gets misconstrued a lot, is that means that we want a small audience. No, we want to grow an audience of people that believe in the vision and
Yes.
people that want to do this. Because the more people there are, that only helps everybody.
Right.
Yeah, to me,
Because
there's
the
the more
difference
people to talk
between
to.
the Incredible Hulk and Wolverine.
yeah.
Right? For our generation, everyone in the world knows the Hulk. You go up to people like the Hulk, they're like, oh, I know the Hulk, he's big and green, right? Fewer people knew Wolverine. But we were emotionally engaged with Wolverine. Like I used to put pencils
Oh yeah.
and go like, we
Still
all
do.
did, right?
Still do. Sometimes I
Because
stab Greg. with 'em.
Wolverine, like he may not have had the awareness of the Hulk, but he had the emotional engagement.
Yeah, I think for me it boils down to kind of what you're talking about is when I dial it back to looking at our lives as a career, right? I want to have the kind of career that's sustainable, and I think that's what you're talking about. Is instead of having that burnout career of like, hey, you did something huge, but then maybe you can't get another role someplace, which is more the traditional Hollywood path. I think what would make me happy is getting to do this on an ever increasingly bigger and cooler scale every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I've had people jokingly talk about like would you ever like what's next after Kind of Funny? You know, people say that every once in a while in the community, and I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. Like this is the base. Like this is what everyone is there allows me to do this forever. And so growing this is the priority. Like this is always growing the community and being able to play in this pond forever in an ever increasingly bigger pond.
The pond keeps getting flooded.
It's exactly right. And the ducks come, you got to shoot them one
And-
fucking
and-
time. They're always shitting
I thought you were
my water.
swimming in the pond. I didn't think you were hunting.
It's fascinating.
But I love that because that niche, that more focused audience, that more focused type of a career allows you to have more of a sustainable career.
It's
and
the
for
thing where
longer.
it's not the biggest audience, it's the right audience. It's about finding that, you know what I mean? And it's the fact that like when we do ads, we pick ads that are for things that, oh, okay, that's cool, we like that, or we've used that, or like how we use Blue Apron, and that resonates with our audience because they've followed me on this journey of falling in love with cooking, and they know that I've used Blue Apron.
I mean, historically, right, when you go back before big media, before the consolidation of big media corporations, before any of this stuff, before the television, we had community leaders. We just had community leader. Every community had a little leader, the person that was like the consciousness of the thing. And that's fundamentally, you guys are all artists. Most of the people watching it have an artistic bone in their body. Otherwise, they would be going to like a makeup channel or like
Sure. The accounting
killing
channel.
people or some fucking, you know what I
Killing
mean? It's like
channel.
your
On
your audience is choosing to come to you guys, and you guys promote positivity and all these wonderful, wonderful things. And throughout history, there have been those community leaders, and that's the role you guys are inhabiting in this incarnation of humanity. You are the community leader, right? And that's a very important, crucial role for our species.
Thank you for letting us be your community leaders. It's all going to hell.
That's because of the ducks, I'm telling you right now.
God damn, I don't understand this duck
They're
stuff.
shit in our water, bro. We gotta just take them out.
Is this like a metaphor?
I'll tell you when I was a kid, there was a little game called Duck Hunt.
There was, yeah.
Right, and the ducks used to come into my pond, and I used to take them out.
It's not really
one
how
by
duck
one.
in.
And my dog would go get them. He'd be happy.
He'd laugh at you a lot. That was a
I don't
big
know what I'm talking about anymore. It's
Yeah.
been a long week already. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Addy, what else? Anything else you wanna put in this podcast?
I could
What's-
plug Addy Shankar's Gods and Secrets.
You just did it
There it
again.
is.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's coming one day to something.
Yeah, it's it's a passion project.
Do we know when we'll have more details about this? Do you have any timing on that? Soon.
When's
Maybe
this
not
when's
soon.
this next YouTube video that's like what I pitched? When's that coming? When the Kingdom Come one?
If
like
he
the-
has a
the
Kingdom Come
bootleg
with John
universe?
Hamm and Michael Keaton, I'll fucking laugh in your face.
I don't care. I'm glad somebody's getting it
It's
done.
come true. That's the thing. I mean, it's funny because it's like I've never wanted to produce and make a Power Ranger movie. I would want to make that Power Ranger thing on YouTube, and I think
It's
that's
interesting
because
because you said I make dreams come true,
yeah.
and thank you.
You do.
That's pretty dope. I was just trying to like. There's like these things in my head, and I want them to exist, and they don't a lot of the time. And I'm like, oh shit, it would be cool if this thing existed, right? And then the fact that other people watch it and are like, yo, this is dope. I felt the same way. That is the moment where I don't feel like the kid who was like moving around every 2.5 years and didn't have a home.
Sure.
and didn't have a sense of stable community. Like the community are the people. Like I'm not alone because everyone else was seeing the same fucking show I was. They just weren't articulating it.
Right.
That's why it's awesome to be now, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that I was the same way of reading comics and not having anyone to talk to about the comics, or playing games
wrestling.
and not having anyone to talk. But no, I had people talk about wrestling. But it was the thing of
But the thing is, I you know, when Max Landis made that Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video, I was like, oh my gosh, like, because it came out like 3 weeks after Power Rangers. And I remember watching and being like, oh my gosh, literally this dude was seeing exactly what I was seeing. Like we were watching the same programming. Because whenever I would try to like get other kids into wrestling, they'd be like, dude, this is whack. Like this is fake. Or it'd be like something like that, which of course it's fake. It's not real. But
spoilers.
But it's like the internet has allowed us to redefine community.
Yep. You can find it, and if you're gonna make something that you believe in, there'll be other people out there who want to watch it and believe in it too. And that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, as long as it's authentic and truthful.
Yeah.
And that's the key, right? That's why ECW
100%.
worked. It was authentic and it was truthful. That's why American Vandal's dope. Because
That's why I'm excited for Body.
It's truthful.
It looks
Body
authentic
is authentic
and truthful.
it's very truthful. You know, it's literally it's authentic and it's truthful and it comes from the community.
I want to get you and Max Landis on a podcast. Just you two. Just put
We put him in the room and we
give
leave.
some mics. We'll walk away. Let's just let him talk. I'll just be like, hey guys, pitch me your vision of how do you fix Transformers, and just walk away. What would you do with Fast and Furious? Just walk away.
Did you hear his Transformers pitch earlier?
You had a Transformers pitch?
I
on
was
the show?
actually going to do it as a bootleg. This was going to follow Power Rangers. I had this
It's really good.
whole 10-minute story beat it out where I was going to position it as a G.I. Joe short. Like, oh, here's my G.I. Joe short, right? But the whole time it's Destro. He's surrendered himself, right? So he's like, guys, just take me in. Look, and they're like, we don't trust you, Destro. And so they're interrogating him, right? And he's like, look, you have to believe me. Okay? Cobra Commander is dangerous. Like, we already knew that. He's like, no. He's dangerous. Like, he sold us all out. He's like, what do you mean us out? He's like, the humans. And the whole time, this is cross-cut with Snake Eyes leading an entire task force to go and take down Cobra, who's just kind of sitting by the throne by himself, right? So now so at the end, it's surrounded. Meanwhile, we're cross-cutting between... So Cobra's on the throne. He's cross-cut between the throne and Destro. And they're like, look, he sold us out. And then finally, the last shot, and I've skipped all the beats in the middle, but the final shot of it is Cobra's like, look, okay, I surrender. Here, let me toss my gun to you. He takes his gun out and he like throws it to Snake Eyes, and it transforms into Megatron.
I love it.
Right?
I'm in.
That's
I'm
fucking
in.
awesome.
I like you a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Dope.
I want to
I
come
don't
over.
like me sometimes.
I get that.
Really?
Sometimes, but I think it's the overall.
Well, that's
that
all
matters.
of us, right? I think we all
Yeah.
we all don't like we all don't like ourselves at some
I
point.
hate me most of the
Yeah.
time. That's not true.
No, yeah, you're a good.
I hate
kid.
me a
Come
little
on.
No, you guys are great, man. And honestly, like, there's something else I've noticed spending the last few hours here is you guys actually like are friends. You guys are like literally, genuinely like you guys are creating this building, fostering, cultivating this community. But there's a community happening here as well, which is just so great, right? Because you see, and I just hope you guys never lose that. Because as you guys grow, as the community develops, as you guys get more resources, it becomes very easy to just kind of fall back into becoming that corporate, streamline, turning it into a business, and then all of a sudden the community leadership goes away.
Nah, we won't let that happen.
Yeah,
that's not the point of that. That's what this is all about. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
Yeah, I know what you're
Nick,
saying,
you know what
man.
I'm saying? Whoo! That's my man.
Sorry, let me try again. Woo!
That was
Is
good.
that more Ric Flair?
He's trying to do more of a Ric Flair stuff.
I'm trying to
now.
nail my Ric Flair. I've already got an amazing Christopher Walken and so Michael Caine. But Ric Flair is really what I want to get
Well,
into.
now you got to do the walk-in. Why are you always hitting me right on the nipple?
I don't know. It's just right there. It's perfect.
Give him some walking. Give him some walking.
No, I can't do it now because you put me on the spot. Walken doesn't do what you want him to do. Walken just does it. He's like Bill Murray. He doesn't have a cell phone. Can't even call him.
Do you have Bill Murray's number?
No.
That'd be
No.
amazing.
Yeah. I want that number because you got that thing you got to call and leave the message. Because I feel like if I could get it, I could call and be like, "We do this show every day. Just come by one day."
I've had a series of very weird interactions with Bill Murray.
Lay him on me.
I mean, really not that interesting. They're just kind of weird. I was making The Voices, which is a serial killer film told through the perspective of the serial killer. So for the first 10 minutes, you think you're watching a rom-com with Ryan Reynolds, where he has this ability, this Dr. Dolittle-like ability to talk to animals. And the animals are like making fun of him and whatnot. And then slowly they start telling him to kill people when he starts doing it, and you realize he's off his meds, right? And then halfway through the movie, he goes back on his meds, and then it goes from being this like a Wes Anderson movie into a David Fincher like Seven type scenario, right? I'm actually in the movie too. But that's a weird tangent. Sorry.
Do you have lines in it, or are you just like in the background?
No, I have lines in it. Like I had braces installed.
Okay.
And I talked
for this part.
Oh yeah, for this part, and I did it because the role was written for the bully in the office, right? So he's the guy. His name's John, and the character's written as Trendy John. And he just goes around like bullying Ryan Reynolds, right? And I was like, what'd be amazing if I had braces installed and I did it with a thick Indian accent, but I still played it like I was the coolest motherfucker on the planet. And yeah, dude. I mean, the most terrified I've been was the first when I first was like, I'm moving to Hollywood and I don't know anybody and I have no connections and I'm gonna make something work. That was like the most terrified. And the second most terrified I've ever been was getting in the car and driving to set that day, because my first professional acting experience was like acting in a scene across from Ryan Reynolds.
That's awesome.
Talking shit to him.
Talking
right.
shit.
And when I act, I get like in it, right?
Yeah.
Because I have to stay in character all day, otherwise. Because if you're not acting all the time, when you act, you have to stay in character all day, otherwise, it's hard. So then I like kind of started like, it was weird. It was just
like,
weird.
and to this day, he still TPs Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say still
fucks
hates
it
Ryan
up.
Reynolds. Still
Just
gives
like I'm
him
gonna fuck
shit.
up Lansky's ass.
Toilet
What's that?
paper.
When you go like
You
toilet paper
bully
to
him.
someone's
You're
house.
bullying
Yeah, you're
Ryan
bullying
Reynolds.
him still.
We're gonna go TP our friend Mike.
I actually
Lansky's
like
house.
disliked him for the longest time through this shoot.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird because I'd like convinced myself he was fake.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like in character, and he's just such a nice guy. He's just such a nice, like it's because he's fucking Canadian. Canadians are
They're
just
all
really
so
nice.
fucking nice. It's annoying.
He's like, hey, how are you, buddy? Like, and I'm like, fuck that guy.
He doesn't really care how I am.
And I was
How I am.
like, we'd be having dinner. I'd be trying to like,
Visiting your mom in the hospital.
I'd be like trying to pull him into my vortex of negativity. But it was just, I was just sucking deep in this character, plus like insecure, which I'm still insecure. But like back then, I was even more insecure. Why was I saying that story?
You're telling us about voices.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray,
Murray.
right? So we're making the film in Berlin because the director Marjane Satrapi, she's an amazing woman. She wrote a book called Persepolis about her.
Oh,
about her
no
life. And
shit,
she
really?
she made the movie as well.
Wow, okay.
So she's massively talented, and she would tell me every day. She'd come up to me and be like, Eddie, you are the weirdest person I have ever met in my life, and I love it. Don't change. I'd be like, okay.
I hate Ryan Reynolds.
You're like, that is a backhanded compliment. That's not fair.
Bill Murray.
But yes, sorry. So Clooney was shooting Monuments Men at the same time, and we were all staying in the same hotel. And literally everywhere he went, like Bill Murray would just be like following him around. It was hilarious. It was just like Bill Murray would just be like kind of tagging along. And then you would just see Bill Murray, like, we'd come up and be like, hey, Bill. And you'd be like kind of wandering around the hotel. Like
He's like a ghost.
you're like literally like, this dude is literally a character from a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with Bill Murray so bad. I feel like
we gotta
he'd
get
like
the phone
me.
number. Somebody's gotta know.
I feel like he'd like me, and we would secretly talk in secret about
Yeah.
how much we both were like, we don't like Greg. Might turn him against you.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, this has been the Game Over Greggy show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each bring a random topic discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where a couple of bucks can get you the show early. How early, Nick?
You're watching it right now.
On patreon.com. Thank you so much, everybody over there. $1 subscribers. It's great. You can get it, obviously, early as a video and MP3 as well, but if you have no bucks to toss our way, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we put the show up topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big video and MP3 the following Friday. Addy, you've been amazing. We're friends now. I'm a big fan. We're all hanging out. It's all happening.
Yeah, dude, I'm having guys, this was just such a great time because I just got to like talk to you guys. You know,
it's
what I mean?
fun,
There
right?
wasn't like, there wasn't the. So what was Brad like? You're like the fuck? What the fuck kind of question is that? I don't know. I can't distill like, you know, when you get the. We were talking about this outside.
Yeah.
Like, I always freeze up the moment I get the question with the blank look.
Sure.
And I'm like,
no one's there to help you.
I don't, and then I'll, you know, it's just great to be able to talk and have a conversation about ideas.
You're welcome here anytime.
And you guys just
do.
like what I love about your channel and the content you guys make is there's thought behind it. You guys are intellectualizing the culture. You're not just adding to the noise. You're adding a perspective and a point of view to it. And I think going forward, as the nerd culture, the nerd ecosystem engulfs everything else and becomes the prominent ecosystem, right? These characters go from being like these cool little cartoons for kids to like, no, these are like brands that can communicate to people. You guys play a very important role in that ecosystem, in navigating that for the consumers of that.
Thank you. Well said.
Yeah.
Don't leave. Just stay here.
You make me feel
Just stay
so
here forever.
important.
You can work out of our office from now on.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Thanks for watching the Game Over Greggy show. Click here to subscribe to the channel. Click here to support us on Patreon. Click here to watch other episodes. And click right down there to watch Cooking with Greggy, my cooking show. I really need you to come watch it because I like doing it, and Nick won't let me do it if it's not more successful.